There we awesome guys. So we have this young gentleman. We get to see him every few months at the trips. We just hung out in Puerto Rico a couple months ago. So Will Cox, a former Florida Gator, yeah, Gator Nation, making Gator Nation proud. He lives down in like the Gainesville area. Here's the introduction about Will. So I literally talked to Brian Ross a few days ago, his agency owner. I was like, hey Brian, like literally, and there was no hesitation. Who is the number one person I should have as our guest speaker for our entire agency on Thursday? He said Will Cox. Like literally a tenth of a second after I asked, he said Will Cox, no brainer. And Will Cox is crushing it. This is his bio about himself. So Will is married to his beautiful wife. He married up. And she's also a nurse. Also, job Will. They are coming on their 2-year anniversary, being married March 13th. So that's only 11 days away. That's exciting. They have just had their first boy, handsome boy. His name is Reed. He was born in December. So that is pretty cool. Just had his first kid not too long ago. And he just hit his 2-year mark with Family Heritage. So he's officially, 50% vested as of right now. That's awesome. And in his first 10 months, will qualify for all the trips, all 3 trips for him and Caroline. He finished in the top 140 first year, chairman circle for sales professional. And then in year 2, last year, he was number 55 in the company in all of Family Heritage. That's a pretty big deal. There's about 1,300 agents last year. Being number 55, that's in the top 5%. While he was the lieutenant governor for Florida. That's awesome. And in Q4, check this out. This is really exciting. He hit the numbers to hit market director for the first quarter. And after last week, Will hit the numbers to hit market director as well. So he is going to, by the end of this quarter, he's going to officially be a market director here at Family Heritage. That is awesome. And he is also going to earn I Dare You for both ways. Okay. Not just as a team builder, but also through sales. So leading from the front in personal recruiting, field recruiting, but also through selling at a very high level and not just telling people what to do. He's actually showing them how to do it at a very high level. So as we have a stud, Will Cox, today on the call, and it's going to be kind of an interview. I'm just going to ask Will a bunch of questions, and he's going to bring the heat. So Will, are you on, sir?
I'm here. Hopefully y'all can hear me.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Heck yeah. Wonderful. So Will, first question, a lot of us haven't met you yet, but if you could just talk a little bit about yourself, your history, your background, just kind of give us a laydown on, Will Cox, what you're doing before you came here to Family Heritage and kind of what brought you on here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had the pleasure of meeting a few of you like Zach, Jim, Maria, and wow, there's 46 people on this Zoom this morning. So that's just amazing that the agency is growing so quickly. But yeah, I'm a Florida boy through and through, born and raised in Orlando. Graduated from UF in 2016, was a little sick of just the Florida heat. So moved one state up to Atlanta and was there for about 4.5 years. And while there, I always knew I wanted to get into sales. So I did technology sales to give me the chance to do medical device. And then from there, went back to tech sales. And that's how I met Michael Rains. I think a couple of y'all might know him. He's the one who really introduced me to Family Heritage. And it was a little taboo for me to come on board. I come from an insurance household, so to do supplemental, it was just a little bit like, hey, just come do personal property casualty, be way, less competitive. But someone was just telling me like Family Heritage is where I need to be at. Part of it was Brian Ross. As the old saying goes, you don't quit a job, you quit a boss. And so previously in my past jobs, I had definitely quit on the boss, not the job. And so I've been here for 2 years now. I'll say, during my 2 years, as long as I've kept my end of the bargain, Family Heritage has always come through and kept their word. So that's something that I really value. Look forward to a long career here. Don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, real quick, are you talking through on speakerphone? It sounds good, but okay, good. I just want to make sure. Hey, so real quick, can you talk about just your schedule? Like when you first got started here, what did your kind of daily grind kind of look like? And what does it look like now about 2 years in? Obviously, you're probably doing some more training as well nowadays. But what did your schedule look like when you first started? So that way new agents kind of hear what that sounded like. And what does it kind of look like, right now?
And I'll maybe talk a little bit more slow. My office has an echo on my desktop. But first coming on board, it was really just like a normal sales job. That's one thing I make sure I'm clear with when I'm talking to new agents is, medical reps, farm reps, all those, they are going door to door. So there is no shame in what we do. So hoof it, get out of your car, make sure you're getting your 25 calls, 30 calls, 6 demos, 8 demos a day. I still make sure that I'm getting at least, 15 calls a day when I'm still doing, the admin stuff in the morning and the evenings just to build new accounts. But there's no substitute for being in the field. I truly believe that. I've seen it from you, Kyle, from Dylan Buck, people who are just leading from the front. Sean Rebus. Sean was still out in the field as an AO, last train more, getting to work. So if your intention is to progress through the ranks and get out of the field, probably not the right job to be in. I don't think you're ever really going to get out of the field in the role of training, of growing a team. Because again, you can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you don't go. So, without we, there is no me. So again, as I'm moving towards market director, super pumped to have Tyler Trowell, a gentleman I work with. He just hit field director. So that's super exciting to have a field director on my team now, our team. And again, just making sure that other folks are winning I Dare You. Haley Purvis, she joined in January. She's knocking on the door of I Dare You. So that's super sweet to have someone in their first, quarter getting out there. And I think it's just because, again, there's no substitute for being in the field. So still today, as soon as I'm off this call, I'm going to be going out in the field first, going by the AT&T store. My phone's messed up. And so just no substitute for time in the field. Of course, I'm still, training. I was in the field training a newer agent yesterday, making 20, 25 calls and getting our demos. And that's the same I'll do if I'm by myself.
That's awesome. It's very important for people to hear that, because it's not what you do just when somebody's beside you, but also what you do when you're by yourself. That makes a leader a true leader, doing the things whenever nobody is actually watching them do those same activities. So thank you for sharing that, Will. And I know, you crush, you're very good technically at this job. And I know you're really good at the indirect cost, throwing the need introduction. Could you just kind of talk about that for a little bit? Your strong suit, maybe role play that or whatever for a little bit.
Absolutely. So I think really when you're transitioning from the iceberg page to, the indirect cost page, that's really where you can get them engaged, kind of check their temperature. And also that's really where you're just cutting, pouring remedy a bunch. So again, if you're holding your iPad, so again, just so I'm kind of clear on my end, I want to make sure, do you know what I mean when I say indirect costs? And they're like, the stuff that insurance doesn't cover. And I'm like, awesome, you can read, Knuckles. No, so I mean, I'll make you think a little bit more. If you're at the hospital, what are you not doing? And they're like, and I'm like, where are you at right now? They're like, oh, working. And I'm like, boom, exactly. So again, there's, loss of income, living expenses, insurance limitations. And this is when you're slowing down, you're not, and I took a couple of these tricks from Amberly Kessler. I call her AK. Don't want to think I invented myself, but this is when you're getting pretty solemn. So hey, again, Ashley, of these ones right here in front of you, if you couldn't work, which one of these would concern you the most? She's like, oh, living expenses. I got 3 kids at home. Yeah, it's pretty important to have something to come home to when you get out of the hospital. So I know you probably think about this a little bit more than most people. And I always say most people, so that way you're not including them, you're making them sound smart. So when do you think most people are thinking about the indirect costs of an accident or cancer? I don't know, probably when it's too late. Yeah, exactly. The firefighters, they didn't think about it until I walked in the bay to work. So I'm using names throughout the demo, throughout the presentation, but definitely on the indirect cost page. And of course, guys, at the bottom of the page, they have the questions. If you forget them, you can tap on them so that way you won't forget to ask those questions. And so again, it's like, yeah, if you couldn't work for 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months or longer, how would that impact you financially? And they're like, oh, I'd be screwed, or I'd be effed, or whatever they want to say. And this is when I'm just, yeah, you would be. It's not, you're not chuckling along with them. You're not smiling with them. You're not their friend right now. This is when they're like, yeah, you would be. And I know we kind of laugh in the face of uncomfortable situations. It's a defense mechanism. When something's awkward on TV, I want to get up and walk out of the room. So again, on the indirect cost page, I'm just very real. And so then I'm like, again, if you couldn't work during those 2 weeks because of an accident, 2-3 months because you're battling cancer, without leaning on your friends and family, without going to Advance America where I work and take out a loan, what is your backup plan to cover these indirect cost pages? So you're already taking away their savings account answer before they even say it. And then they're sitting there and you're sitting there for 15 seconds in dead silence, and it's uncomfortable. And they're like, I guess I don't really have one. And you're like, that's exactly what this is for. And so again, I definitely slow down. I'm solemn. I'm calling them on it. Like they're laughing, thinking this is a joke. I'm like, no, this is serious. Like if you can't work, like what are you going to do? You will lose your house. And that's really just kind of where they really, I think, in my opinion, start to see the need for what we do. And then from there, you're kind of getting through, yeah, health insurance pays doctors. We pay you to keep your car in the driveway, your lights on at home. This is one of the last things that you want to cancel. Because again, what do you think happens when, you cancel it? Yeah, you need it. You give a story. So yeah, that's really it, Schneider.
That's awesome, man. I love you mentioned in there the same exact question that we asked, the critical questions, like if you couldn't work for 6 weeks, 6 months, or even longer, how that impact you financially. And then you said, other than your savings, other than asking your family for money, what do you have a backup plan that cover all these indirect costs right now? And they always say no, because you take out all those answers for them, like the savings or retirement, other than your retirement. I love how you say that, because you kind of take away all the objections that they're going to give you up front. And that's why those questions around the indirect costs, and that's how you build the meeting. Like you said, you're not supposed to be their buddy friend there. You're being real with them. You're cutting them open, pouring salt, and then giving them the remedy a couple pages later. So that is awesome. That is a game changer, and that's why you have a high closing percentage. So a few other questions for you, man. So you did just essentially qualify for market director, which is a big deal because you're going to be on the vision team call now, and we got extra couple perks of being on the vision team. So if you want to kind of just talk real quick how you hit from field director to market, that's a lot. We have a lot of field directors on this call, people who are right at the field director level who definitely want to be market director this year. Any tips on like what's kind of helped you get up there?
Yeah.
Recruiting, personal recruiting, the whole 9 yards.
I think acting or accepting the responsibilities of market, which is very similar but very different at the same time, before you fully step into that market director role. Just like if you're trying to step into a regional, you're probably acting like a regional before your market. So I was definitely doing, field recruiting. That's how I landed one of them last quarter. Transparently, the two this quarter so far, I've been through professional sources. I'm in a good situation where I'm able to invest in a ZipRecruiter. Brian kind of handles the Indeed, so I'm not going to try to muddy the waters and have both of us in there. So I'm doing my own thing on ZipRecruiter. Also, I've given my wife, Caroline, a stack of those cards from our agency that says "You're amazing." It has a link on the back that kind of gives a career overview. So if she's out with her nurse friends and she comes across as an absolute killer server or whatnot, she can just kind of be like, "Hey, is this your forever job? Like, are you want to do this forever?" And I've coached her on it. So she wants to be a stay-at-home mom with a baby. So we'll move her over to maybe working with the agency as a recruiter. Who knows? But yeah, I think really just setting the expectation that it's going to happen. Not be like, oh man, it'd be good if I hit market director. Be like, no, it's going to happen. And then just going after it each day. I think the more granular you get, the easier it is to kind of check boxes off. If you have a notepad that you do for contacts throughout the day on your scorecard, do a little, 4 bubbles on the top right corner for links sent. And if you're not sending any links each day, then you're like, okay, I need to get better at sending links. We're very dedicated to sales. I think if we all took the same amount of effort that we put into going out and protecting families and putting it into, growing the organization, wow. Dylan Buck better watch out.
Wow. That is awesome. That's great. Coaching friends and family and just really getting everybody engaged into the recruiting activities. It doesn't have to be somebody that you meet. It could be somebody that your wife meets or somebody your brother knows, right? So just getting everybody engaged and having those conversations, because you're not going to hit market director unless you have those conversations. You have to make it part of your daily routine of just talking to people about the opportunity. Hey, so real quick, what are some of your goals for this year? Well, 2023, we're already about a quarter in. What are some of your personal goals that you have for this year?
So again, my personal goals are really team goals. So Tyler, he's field director now. I want to get Haley and Carter both the field director as well before the mid-year meeting. I know by making sure, I'm supporting them at the end of the day, I'll do what I need to get done. I would like to make sure that we're routinely, getting, certain PIF numbers, just small things that might seem, minuscule when you're not trying to grow. When you are trying to go become, a world of difference, like tracking submits. So one of my personal goals actually is so far I've been PIF perfect the whole, Q1. I want to be PIF perfect the whole year. I want to submit every single week and go from there. And want to make sure that I ride over 250,000. So that way I'm in the top 50. Jarrett Nelson snubbed me out of the 50 spot by like a torch week or, globe week. And he got to walk across the stage and, just kind of like the guys at the end of the Super Bowl, stand on the sideline, watching that happen. It's like, all right, that's going to be me next year walking across the stage. So yeah, that's really just 2 high level goals, kind of like Warren Buffett says, write down your top 10, cross out the other 7 and just focus on the 3 and the rest will take care of itself.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's nothing more. And you're a former athlete, nothing more competitive than seeing somebody else get up on stage. You're like, oh, I'm going to beat that guy this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be that guy. So that's awesome to hear, Will. And hey, one little last question for you, then I'll open up to the audience is, now that you have a kid now, you're still staying on a good schedule and your morning routine is very important in this business. I know your agency owner, B. Ross, huge, Sean Reeves too, very big on morning routines. Now that you have a kid, he's like, 2 to 3 months old, what does your morning routine look like now so you can still sustain your efficiency?
It's really hasn't changed. If anything, I'm waking up earlier. Like again, literally in the middle of the night, woke up to go put his pacifier in. And I realized my phone will not turn on, like won't turn on at all, period, nothing. My phone is just dead. And so now I'm like already kind of ahead of the curve. Instead of waking up at 5 and realizing this, I'm up much earlier so I can kind of get a game plan, figure out what I need to do. Found an old iPhone, going to the AT&T store later this morning. But really what I'll say is it hasn't changed. If anything, it's definitely motivated me more. You spend a lot of money on stuff that gets pooped in. And when I was at 101, where I met Jim, Dylan Buck took my phone and put an alarm for every day, 6:15, and said, don't be soft. And then another, alarm that said, are you on the way to territory, at 8 a.m. So I think just not giving yourself really any grace when it comes to a morning schedule. Because if we had normal corporate Fortune 500 jobs that we were having to go in the office, it doesn't matter if we had a little issue and we're going to be 10 minutes late. Your boss wants you there, and we are our own bosses. So it doesn't matter if we're having something going on. Of course, if something major is going on, take a couple minutes, but like non-negotiables, you need to be in the field by either 8:30, 9 o'clock every day. And yeah, that's just, you got to do it.
That's so simple. That's so powerful. Keep it simple. All right, guys. So we've had a sub guest speaker. I want to open up to the audience. So any questions for Mr. Wilcox while we have him?
Well, what's up, buddy? I'll jump in here.
There you go.
Thanks for jumping on here. So I'm glad you kind of touched on getting serious with people, because I feel like a lot of rookies, and myself included, when I first started, I was a little hesitant to put people on the spot and ask them the hard questions, really make it painful. What was the turning point for you that you're like, hey, I'm not joking around anymore? Like what clicked with you is like, hey.
I think really when I had my first claim, and if you haven't had your first claim yet, that will definitely be a big mind shift for you or agents. But also, I was just kind of sick and tired of being, not pushed around, but like, when you call on a business and they're like, oh man, we've got this, we're good. And they're just telling you anything and everything to kind of get rid of you. And it's like, you have no idea what I'm really even here to talk about. You need to give me just a couple minutes to tell you how and why we're so different. And some of those people that have always been just, the biggest Karens are now some of my best referral partners and best clients. But yeah, I think just really after kind of talking to other people, I think that's one of my favorite things about this business is it's not just the Schneider agency or the Davenport agency. There is, the Andy Santos, there is the Bandera group. You can call Elevated. I mean, there's been times when I called Kyle on how to work a trucking company. So I think a lot of people were just kind of pouring that into my mind. It's like, hey man, like just level up, be serious. This isn't, you can make a lot of money in this role if you want to take it seriously. And I think something just finally tripped, a wire in my brain. It's like, all right, let's go all in. Because I really do believe probably for the first year even, I was not convicted. Hadn't really drinking the Kool-Aid, wasn't sure what was going to be like. But after you go to your first, mid-year meeting, your first Q3 legacy trip, it's just something clicks. And you give us a year, we'll give you a career type situation. And I think that's a big part of it. And I think that's it, Zach. Claims.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How many claims do you read per demonstration?
You don't want to ask me that question. I really maybe read one, if that.
Okay.
If I'm being totally honest, I read one. Now I pepper in stories from claims quite a bit, and I'll just take 30 seconds, Kyle, on this one. So a big story that I use, and I know this is kind of not an unfair advantage, not a lot of people can use this, but when I first started this career, I sat down with my father, who's been in insurance for 35 years, just to do a practice demo with him. Of course, he signed up because he's my dad. 6 weeks later, he was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate and bladder cancer. So I've seen these policies work firsthand for my family. I've seen how it works, with the claims process. So when I'm doing a demonstration of the benefits, I'm like, let me use my dad for example really quick. Now, of course, he's giving me the clearance to do that. But I think, having a picture of you returning a check, doing a return of premium, when you're going over that return of premium part, I'm pulling up the picture. I'm like, you might not know Mr. Vitro, you might not know Deborah, but here he is holding up a check with $26,000, $19,000. So pictures, claims, I'm doing it in a different way, but definitely bringing that into the demo is very important. Names, claims, the whole 9 yards.
That's awesome. Hey, Will. Hey, man, that's what we have, a 2 claim minimum rule. Hey, so I know you were 55 in the nation last year. When you read 2 claims in your demo, I promise you're going to be in the top 50 this year, big dog.
Hey, just
100,
three,
you got to do that.
I'll add one more. There we go. Cool.
Add one more to your arsenal. Hey, so any last questions for Mr. Wilcox while we have him?
I just want to make a comment. I think it's really Will, I've met you a couple of times.
Mhm.
But what Will just said, he was brave enough to talk to his family. By the grace of God, he got his dad protected, and we've helped him. One of the things that I kind of struggle with, friends and families are protected, but really just like if you go to a church, really just reaching out to your church family, just at least trying to share with them exactly what you do. I just think that's really a big deal for us, just to be very brave in that, and so I'm glad to hear that your dad got protected. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. And it's great to hear from you. And I will leave you with this. Friends and family, it's tough. It's a little scary. And transparently, I didn't really approach my father-in-law for quite a while. I mean, we talked about it over a drink. And then what do you think happened? He actually got diagnosed with prostate cancer as well. So that was a huge bummer, but we sat down probably 2-3 weeks ago, got him and his wife on a heart policy and a cancer policy for the wife. But just at the very least, share it with anyone and everyone what we do. Hope everyone has a strong week, stays blessed. Kyle, if you want to give out to my number, if some people need it to reach out, maybe have some other questions, happy to do so. I'm always in the car, always ready to take a call. Again, for the folks that I know on this call, great seeing you. And other than that, it's time to get out in the field, go to work.
All right. Thank you, Will. Thanks so much for being on today. Go crush it today. It is Thirsty Thursday, gang. This is always the best day of the week. And we're going to finish this week strong. We've only got this week and 2 weeks after. So we got about 2.5 weeks left in Q1. So 2.5 weeks to earn the I Dare You. We have a ton of agents. We could have potentially 8 to 10, maybe even 11 winners of the I Dare You jacket this quarter, which is the most we've ever had. So, but it's going to take that decision today. Do exactly what Will taught on today. Make things happen for yourself. Don't wait for things to happen. Will, so many great talking points today, man. Super proud of you and everything you're doing. And he's going to be on the vision team next quarter, which is a big freaking deal. So, guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Let's go have a monster Thirsty Thursday. All right, over and out.
Heck yeah.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle.